In this podcast episode, Jillian Turecki, a renowned relationship expert and author, unpacks the complex dynamics that govern romantic partnerships and the internal work required for nurturing healthy, fulfilling connections. Drawing from her personal experiences and professional training, Turecki guides listeners through a thoughtful exploration of love, self-awareness, communication, and the cultural factors that often complicate our relationships. Jillian opens by emphasizing that every relationship, regardless of its nature, revolves fundamentally around oneself. She encourages listeners to resist defensiveness around this idea, clarifying it does not mean one is solely to blame, but rather that self-reflection and responsibility are key. Her philosophy centers on the understanding that the quality of any relational dynamic is influenced by how individuals show up, their emotional health, and their underlying needs. Self-awareness is the starting point for transformation in love. Jillian urges people to develop curiosity about their own patterns, choices, and reactions in relationships. Rather than obsessing over self-examination, the goal is to identify recurring themes, like tendencies to pick similar kinds of partners or get drawn to familiar yet unhealthy dynamics, and to consciously decide whether one is willing to change those patterns, thus fostering growth and maturity. Turecki challenges conventional cultural portrayals of love as merely a feeling or mysterious attraction. Instead, she offers a more nuanced, action-based definition. Love is a deliberate commitment that requires practice, selflessness, and prioritizing the well-being of the other person, sometimes above one's own needs. She highlights the contrast between a selfish love that demands constant gratification and a mature love grounded in care and respect for the partner's happiness. This mature love does not negate self-love or setups of boundaries. Rather, it acknowledges the complexity of balancing care for self with care for another. Jillian points out that even the most selfless individuals act selfishly at times, especially when feeling vulnerable or drained. The highest form of love involves choosing honesty and mutual respect, even if it means difficult decisions, like letting go of a relationship that no longer serves the well-being of both parties. One of the most poignant insights Jillian shares is that who we choose as partners is a reflection of our self-perceived worth and a declaration of what we believe we deserve in life. This makes partner selection one of the most consequential decisions we make, as a partner influences not only our emotional life, but our worldview, habits, and even physical well-being. Jillian urges discernment beyond initial attraction or infatuation. She acknowledges the timelessness of lust and idealization at the onset of relationships, but stresses the need to identify core non-negotiables, such as integrity and emotional availability, and be flexible on less critical traits. By naming and understanding what truly matters, individuals can choose partners who add value to their lives while also being prepared for the long-term work that relationships entail. The conversation dives into how people often unconsciously identify with stories about themselves, such as the avoidant or anxious attachment types, which can limit capacity for change. Jillian believes these labels, while useful in understanding patterns, can be over-applied and become excuses for persistent behaviors that hurt relationships. She encourages stepping outside of these fixed narratives to recognize that behaviors like avoidance serve specific emotional needs, often rooted in fears of rejection or unworthiness. The work is to become aware of these urges and take contrary actions to build new relational muscle memory. Changing the story means disarming the grip these limiting identities have and opening space for vulnerability and growth. Jillian discusses how the current American cultural emphasis on individualism and self-interest skew our understanding of love and relational reciprocity. There is an excessive focus on how partners meet our personal needs instead of what we contribute to others' lives. This transactional mindset fosters dissatisfaction and can lead to a cycle of failed relationships. To heal this imbalance, Jillian advocates for a shift toward recognizing love as a two-way street, valuing what we bring into the relationship and actively seeking to add value to our partners' lives. This cultural recalibration involves unlearning selfish patterns ingrained by media and societal messages and embracing love as a practice of generosity, patience, and mutual growth. Effective communication emerges as essential throughout the discussion. Jillian differentiates open communication from constant problem discussion, noting that healthy couples tend to tackle issues directly and respectfully rather than avoid conflict or sweep problems under the rug. She stresses that communication is only possible when there is sufficient trust and emotional safety. Emotional regulation plays a vital role because unmanaged stress and reactivity poison intimacy. Life's daily pressures often leave people depleted, making it hard to engage with partners in loving ways. Jillian suggests cultivating self-regulation skills that help individuals stay grounded rather than reactive, enabling them to return to conversations after taking time to process emotions. This forms the bedrock for sustainable, nurturing dialogue. Unresolved wounds from childhood, especially in one's relationship with parents, deeply influence adult romantic relationships. Jillian stresses the importance of facing and working through these legacies to avoid unconsciously repeating unhealthy patterns with partners. She reflects on her own difficult relationship with her father as a catalyst for her journey into emotional healing and expertise. She encourages embracing difficult experiences and heartbreak as opportunities for growth rather than failures. Re-examining the stories surrounding past relationships and pain allows individuals to reframe meaning, shed shame, and move toward greater self-compassion. This conscious processing is critical for breaking cycles of generational trauma and cultivating healthier emotional attachments. Jillian acknowledges that dating has never been simple, but modern technology introduces new complexities. While dating apps can facilitate connections, they often promote disposability and objectification of potential partners, encouraging a mindset of unlimited choice that sabotages commitment and intimacy. She laments the lack of community structures in contemporary society, which traditionally provided accountability and connection in partner selection. This absence, combined with online anonymity, erodes manners and sometimes social skills necessary for genuine connection. Jillian advises a multifaceted and intentional approach to dating that includes participating in real-life communities and being mindful of the often superficial nature of app-based interactions. The conversation candidly addresses the painful reality of infidelity and the arduous journey toward repair. Jillian outlines the necessity of genuine remorse, accountability, and repeated effort by the betrayer to rebuild trust. She notes that affairs often stem less from moral failure and more from emotional disconnection within the couple and from oneself. She explains that those who cheat frequently seek novel experiences or a renewed sense of aliveness, missing from their stable but disconnected partnerships. Healing from infidelity requires both partners to confront painful truths honestly and address the root causes of disconnection, which often involve cultivating individual meaning and fulfillment apart from the relationship. Jillian offers insightful observations about how gendered beliefs and fears complicate communication and emotional availability. Women, conditioned toward safety, may hyperfocus on problems as a protective mechanism, sometimes interpreting men as emotionally distant or indifferent. Men, on the other hand, often fear vulnerability owing to concerns that their emotions will be weaponized or rejected. The solution lies in making space for one another's humanity and needs, recognizing that masculine and feminine energies thrive on different relational attentions. Presence versus emotional expression, for example. By cultivating patience and understanding, partners can support each other's emotional growth, fostering a safer space to share vulnerabilities without shame or retreat. A crucial piece of Jillian's message concerns the role of accountability and external support in personal and relational growth. She warns against relying solely on friends who may perpetuate unhelpful stories or validate dysfunctional patterns. Instead, she advocates for finding mentors, coaches, or trusted guides who can provide honest, informed, and compassionate feedback. This approach mirrors how coaching is embraced in athletics and other disciplines, yet most adults navigate love and life largely unguided. Jillian encourages normalizing seeking assistance and mentorship as a means to foster self-awareness, humility, and sustainable change, highlighting that even experts have mentors and that no one has to journey alone. At the heart of the conversation lies the universal but often hidden fear that undermines relationship success: the fear of not being enough. Jillian explains that this deep-seated shame manifests as avoidance, reactivity, insecurity, and a desperate clinging to love. It is the root of self-sabotage and distance between partners. Understanding this fear as the fundamental game being played allows individuals to approach themselves and others with greater compassion and patience. Jillian's core advice is that working on oneself is not about fixing brokenness, but unlearning damaging beliefs and shedding pride. By recognizing that not enoughness underpins many relational challenges, people can begin to rewrite their internal narratives and embrace love with courage and authenticity.